So very important in any aspect of life or business, communication. Do you want to just talk us through your thinking here?
100%. So what we started exploring here was, so we've looked at technologies, we've looked at visibility, what we can see, we've looked at costing in terms of admin and affordability, and now we started looking at, well, what is the communication time costing the client? So this would be the learner being told they're on training, the learner arriving for training, the learner being told what to do in the assessment, the learner being supported in the assessment, and then sending the assessment, telling the assessor that the assessment's been done, then the assessor doing the assessment and telling the administrator it's been done, telling the learner it's been done, so communicating the results. If there's remedial work, who tells who, how does it go? And so the communication string just keeps going on and on and on. There's a lot of communication. And in South Africa, it's, once you've assessed, you claim back. So once the assessments are done, you can start claiming back your grants. But that's all part of the communication pipeline. So we have very interesting scenarios where the moderator or the external verifier is coming tomorrow. It's kind of what Susanna was saying. They tell you they're coming tomorrow, and all of a sudden you have to, get a whole bunch of, portfolios into a room quickly. And that communication is, in South Africa, it's quite interesting because, for example, the moderator shouldn't have to request a file. They should be able to choose what they want, but you get the providers who send what's been done. You understand? It's not the random, it's the send what has been done. And so this communication really gets confusing. And then tracking the communication. Did I really email? Did you really email me? Did we receive the emails? Where did the emails go? And all of that. So we have found that, well, the research showed us very clearly that just in communication per learner, the administrator and the assessor are spending about 8.5 hours. Well, let's go 14.5 hours per year just trying to get the communication right. Did we send the email? Did we receive the email? Did we track the email? Did you get the email? And I mean, that's almost a 2,000 Rand cost that our clients are picking up on the communication. And I think going back to what Susanna was saying around the vision, see what P4P is doing is we're going, instead of, we're going in terms of what is the assessment, so kind of the language, the numeracy and literacy. There's an assessment role in there, and so we're building, because that's part of the assessment role, so that communication can flow from the time the learner gets onto the program to the time the learner is exited from the program, because every part of that involves communication. And our vision is to kind of manage just the assessment side end to end, so that communication can flow from assessment. Because then, like what Susanna was saying, in those data dumps, you can put all the assessment communication into there, and then the other people can pull it out depending on what they need it for. So the communications become really, really. I mean, I was shocked. I didn't expect it to be 14 hours per year per learner, 14.5 hours, just on how we send an email or hi, did you receive that? That's a lot of time that we kind of came up with. Oh, well, no, we didn't. That's what the research showed. So I was quite shocked actually with that.
Thanks, Darren. Susanna, from your perspective, is it equally relevant in your world?
Yeah, absolutely. Having the portfolio and the technology just keeps the communication within there, so it's easier to track. So, for example, in one file, when you send the student a plan, they'll get a ping within one file, but they also get an email notification as well to prompt them to go in. And then if they complete some work, it pings the assessor, and they also get an email prompt as well. And what they can do, can get daily or weekly digests of work that's outstanding as well. So you're just getting constant prompts and nudges to do your work, as opposed to when it was on paper, you literally forgot about it until your assessor turned up the next time, and it's like, oh goodness, I haven't done that work. Whereas this, you're just getting constant. And again, like Darren says, there's email obviously But back in the day, you know, not everybody had email sort of 17 years ago. We kind of forget, you know, there wasn't smartphones then. It was just, you know, you could just text and phone people on your phone. So within OneFile, there was like a messaging system. So again, you could send a message to an individual student. You could send it to a cohort of students. You could send it to all of your students, and that could be done at the assessor and the manager level. There's also something like system announcements. So right at the top, when the student first logs in, it sends an announcement out to everybody. So during COVID, for example, some of our colleges, they actually had their vice principal, they gave them a login, and their principal was going on and putting motivational sort of statements on there about how well everyone was doing and updating information. So it wasn't just coming via the college on the email or the intranet that they had, it was coming via the portfolio. And what we had, because we do, you know, some of the parents do log on as well, and the parents are saying how much they appreciated that contact from a higher level within the college as well. So absolutely, you know, it's just, and it's the feedback as well, the feedback loop that Darren was talking about, you know, using that communication. It's instantaneous, it's in there, but it's also sent with an email ping as well. So you're getting it from both barrels, basically. You shouldn't miss it. And then when like you say, when the auditor comes and says, well, how much support did you try and give? You don't have to go back through an email chain and search out, you know, Robin's email address and figure it out. It's all in there. You can just go to the messaging system, and you can put in Robin's name and say, look, this is all the messages we sent to Robin and the responses. So you can see that support was given.
That's such a valid point. I just know one of my greatest nightmares is when you do funded training programs, you get line items, and one of the line items in your budget is your learner support. And that is one of the most difficult things to quantify to an auditor when they come back and say, well, how did you support this learner? So, you know, this is a really great solution to that particular predicament. And then just, you know, Robin, in terms of your previous comments around having to reach people in rural areas, what is your view on this importance of assessment communication?
Thank you. I think for us, it's also been revolutionary. Susanna mentioned Power BI. We've been using an open source product called Metabase, which has been revolutionary. So we just have set up, and we're still learning how to do it, but we're setting up dashboards which are emailed out daily to center managers, you know, area managers, funders, you know, all you know, designed particularly for them to see at which level they're interested in, but you know, covering so many things. So not just student performance, how much work was done in a center on that day, you know, and hey, what happened? I see you haven't been active for 2 days. What happened? Oh yes, sorry, we had power failure or something like that. But you know, it really has made a vast difference to us. And I think we're only just scratching the surface, but it just makes running a distributed training setup so much easier. Wow.
Thanks so much, Robin. And Jen, do we have to move on swiftly? But I know your particular area of expertise is in the space of psychometrics and assessment. And just, you know, maybe a quick comment on the importance of communication to learners going through assessment process and for those who have to support them.
We do see quite a big impact between the client who does encourage the learner to interact directly with the platform versus the client who loads the evidence for the learner and then detracts or separates the learner from the platform to receive the feedback. The quality of the interaction is significantly different. The quality of the engagement is significantly different. The individual, the client that actually dislocates the learner from the platform then actually incurs more costs, because then there's more people having to get the information to the learner. There's more, there's less direct communication with the learner. There's less people involved with the actual clarity of the communication. So it actually almost creates a cloud or a fog around the communication process, making the process a lot more difficult to actually be effective and to drive the process. And also from the assessor's perspective, they having to If the learner is an email, the learner with the results, once again, going back to the issue of technology, different systems to capture the information.
Thanks, Jen. So moving swiftly along.
I'm actually working in a number of spaces with a number of clients, and it's quite challenging.
Thanks, Jen. Sorry to cut you there.